Have you ever noticed how a conversation can end, but your mind doesn't? Hours later, sometimes days, you're still replaying it. The words, the tone, that pause before they answered, the look on their face when you said that one sentence. And at some point, someone probably told you, you're overthinking. Just forget it. You read too much into things. But psychology tells a very different story. Because most people don't replay conversations at all. They forget what was said almost immediately. You don't. And that's not a weakness. It's a sign of how your brain is wired. If you constantly replay conversations, analyze interactions, or think deeply about social moments, your mind is operating on a level most people never reach. By the end of this video, you'll understand why and realize something important. You're not broken. You're rare. Trait 1. Heightened social perception. When you're in a conversation, you're not just listening to words. Your brain is scanning everything. Tone changes, micro-expressions, energy shifts, hesitation, what was said and what wasn't. While most people hear the surface meaning and move on, your mind is quietly collecting data in the background. When the conversation ends, your brain keeps working because it hasn't finished processing yet. This is known as high social attunement. People with this trait often learned early that understanding others wasn't optional, it was necessary. Maybe you had to sense moods before speaking. Maybe emotions in your environment were unpredictable, so your brain adapted. It became incredibly good at reading between the lines. That's why hours later you suddenly realize someone agreed but didn't really mean it, or that a joke wasn't really a joke. You're not imagining things. You're noticing what others overlook. This level of awareness is uncommon. It can feel exhausting, but it's also why you understand people so deeply. Trait 2. Emotional depth that doesn't switch off. You don't just think about conversations, you feel them. Long after the moment passes, the emotional weight stays with you. Not because you're dramatic, but because your emotional system processes experiences fully. Most people feel something briefly and move on. You process emotions in layers. When someone says something that stings, even subtly, your brain wants to understand why. It replays the moment to make sense of the emotional impact. That's why a small comment can stay with you for days. That's why you remember conversations others forgot entirely. Yes, it can feel heavy, but it also means you're capable of empathy, emotional intelligence, and connection at a depth many people never reach. You don't skim the surface of life. You experience it fully. Trait 3. Your brain is always looking ahead. When you replay conversations, you're not stuck in the past. You're preparing for the future. Your mind asks, what does this mean? Is something changing? What should I expect next? This is predictive thinking. Your brain maps patterns, using past interactions to anticipate outcomes. This often develops in people who grew up in emotionally complex or unpredictable environments. At some point, predicting behavior helped you stay safe. So now, your mind runs simulations. That's why a short interaction can trigger hours of thought. Your brain is comparing it to past experiences and flagging shifts. And the truth is, you're often right. Your gut feelings aren't random. They're built on patterns you've tracked for years. Trait 4. Intense self-awareness. When you replay conversations, you're not only analyzing others, you're analyzing yourself. What you said, how you said it, whether you were misunderstood, whether you could have handled it better. This is self-reflective awareness. Most people rarely examine their own behavior. You do, constantly. And while this can turn into self-criticism, at its core, it comes from care. You care about communication, impact, and being understood. That level of reflection is a sign of emotional maturity. It just needs balance. Reflection fuels growth. Self-judgment fuels pain. Trait 5. A nervous system trained to stay alert. For many people, replaying conversations is protection. This comes from emotional hypervigilance. If you grew up around criticism, inconsistency, or conditional approval, your nervous system learned to scan interactions for danger or rejection. So after a conversation, your brain asks, did I mess up? Are they upset? Am I safe here? This isn't weakness. It's adaptation. Your mind learned that awareness equals safety. That response made sense once. It helped you survive. With awareness, you can now teach your nervous system that not every interaction is a threat. Trait 6. Strong memory for language and meaning. If you replay conversations, you likely have powerful recall for words. You remember phrasing, tone, pauses. This is high verbal recall. Your brain stores language differently. It holds on to conversations because words carry meaning and emotional weight for you. This ability is common in storytellers, writers, counselors, and intuitive thinkers. Yes, it means you remember painful conversations longer, but it also means you understand communication at a level most people don't. So what does all this mean? If you replay conversations, it doesn't mean you're anxious, broken, or too sensitive. It means you're highly perceptive, emotionally deep, pattern-oriented, self-aware, trauma-adapted, cognitively sharp, and deeply human. These traits didn't appear randomly. They developed because they once helped you adapt, survive, and connect. The goal isn't to stop thinking. The goal is to understand why you think this way and work with your mind instead of fighting it. Sometimes replaying helps you process. Sometimes it's your nervous system asking for reassurance. Learning the difference is growth. So the next time you catch yourself replaying a conversation, pause and ask, what is my mind trying to do for me right now? Because you're not overthinking. You're thinking deeply. And the world needs people like that. Which part of this felt like it was describing you? Let me know in the comments. And if this video made you feel understood, consider subscribing. You're not broken. You're rare.